So we didn't do that well in the World Cup bid stakes this week. We finished third in a race of three. What happened?
Listen, first of all, I've been involved in it for the last couple of years, and I've been. It's one of the things that I've been very proud to be involved in, because everything within our power has been done. The very best of all the services, very best of input. No penny pinching, and when World Rugby cast their opinion as to who needs to be their preferred choice, we fell down massively in two areas. And the two areas were venues and host cities and tournament infrastructure. And if you actually look at the breakdown of what we lost by, which is a bit more than 6%, 6.75%, almost 5% of the differential was lost in those two areas, which essentially is we don't have the stadia yet, similar to France and South Africa, and that's where we fell down.
Yeah. Is part of this you have to go through this once maybe and acquire that knowledge and information?
We weren't bidding for it on that premise. We were hoping that this was our first attain of a huge trophy, of a huge competition like this. We weren't thinking of 2027 or 2031, none of that. This was sole focused on 2023. So the fight isn't given up yet. Yes, we're very much on the back burner at the moment with regards to being 3 of 3.
Yeah.
And we haven't been helped today with New Zealand saying that they're going to vote along with World Rugby's recommendations. And listen, we're undoubtedly up against it, but why would you pack in 2 years worth of work to
you got to
continue
keep
going hard for another 2 weeks?
Well, yeah, exactly. And also I think that there's probably a lot of lessons to be learned in these next 2 weeks about what can be done at this stage and how important the process is. Is it the type of thing that you think sometimes countries get involved in these things and they go, okay, well that's it, we've tried it now, we're never going to try it again? It doesn't seem to me like that's the general atmosphere around this, that like while nobody went into this hoping that they were going to lose, that there is also a period where you go, okay, we do fully understand exactly what the difficulties were. There is that process where you do an exam, you get the results and you go, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, repeating your leaving, you'll do better second time round.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
But it's not really, I can see where you're going with that analogy, but I don't think we as a country are in a position where we can build the stadia.
Well, we can fix
to back up a bid.
Correct.
So we just don't have those kind of resources.
It's the chicken and an egg.
Exactly.
situation.
And we knew going into this process that South Africa and France had hosted World Cups, European Championships, World Athletics Championships in the last 20 years.
Casement
and
Park,
they were in place.
Casement Park might be built by the next time it comes down to
It will
bidding.
be built.
And so, do you know what I mean? It's then you're not saying,
But
oh,
will
by the
is
way,
different to is.
Exactly.
And that's on the criteria, that's where we fell down.
Did we underestimate the importance or the level of stress that would have been put on these particular segments of the process by those in charge?
Underestimate? I don't think underestimate. I just, I suppose because it's the first time that this has been done, we've learnt an awful lot. As to your point, Joe, we've learnt we've learnt an awful lot over the course of the last 5 days, reading, pulling apart the findings. There was nothing we could do. It wasn't a case that it was going to be any different if we went back a week before, we went back 2 years before.
No, you can't build these.
We're going to find ourselves in the same situation.
Yeah.
And exactly as you mentioned, Dave, that we need the carrot of a tournament to then go and build these stadia. We don't have the luxury of going and building them with the hope of picking one up in due course. That's not how the model in Ireland is ever going to work.
Yeah.
You would hope from a GAA stadia point of view that they will continue building them, and we're going to need them as a partner if we're ever to host a World Cup in the future. So from that end, you would hope that that work's going to happen no matter what, whether they have us in mind or otherwise, which they won't once this bid is finished with. So I don't think we overlooked it, but it is what it is, and you can't get away from the fact that we're a smaller nation. We don't have as much experience. We don't have the stadia, and that's what's essentially squeezed us on this scale.
Yeah.
Whether it was overlooked or not is irrelevant. There's nothing we could have done
No.
as a group and as a bidding country to change it.
No. No, you look at what is it? I've even written down 4.88% is what we lost on those two areas to South Africa.
You can't make that ground up.
No, you can't. That's in stadia, it's in cities, it's in tournament infrastructure. So
the other side of this, though, is that tournaments are becoming increasingly diverse. Like you're seeing what UEFA are doing by spreading around the Euros. Every city, Dublin's going to get 2 games or 3 games in the next Euros, and that whole notion of a country being taken over by a tournament is actually it's disappearing from world sport. Ireland might be one of the last opportunities to do that, because like if you go to France, most of Paris doesn't give a shit that there's going to be a World Cup game on. Whereas if there is a World Cup game on, a World Cup semi-final or final in Dublin, it's going to be pretty huge. The country does legitimately get taken over, and that's that was our card. It was like, we promise you that we will actually be very interested in this thing when it's happening in the country. And they're like, yeah, but the stadiums and the cities are more important to us.
And the finance.
The finance clearly as well.
Yeah, so we've fallen down in a few areas. We're not a million miles behind, and as Kevin Potts, who's been the lead on this, mentioned, we're still a viable option. It wasn't a case of that we were completely discredited as a non-viable option, which is something, and we should take some satisfaction that we've delivered a good bid where we're still in a place where we could host a good World Cup.
And if say for example we don't manage to turn it around in the next couple of weeks, would you be of a mind that we should go again, having learned what we've done? I realise that's like, I'm knackered here.
There's no way you can think at this
just run a
moment
marathon
about that. Yeah,
could
exactly.
you do it 5 minutes quicker?
Yeah. Eddie Izzard, run another one tomorrow. No, I think you need a bit of time to reevaluate, yes, where you went wrong, how you could improve your bid, but also you have to think from a political point of view, where is the likelihood, who's going to be pitching for the next one?
Yeah.
Is Argentina going to be in the mix? Undoubtedly for 2027. Who's one of the more powerful men in world rugby? Gus Pichot. Will he be driving it hard? Undoubtedly. So you have to be careful.
You don't get caught in a cycle.
Having said that, South Africa, I think, is it 4 unsuccessful bids prior to this one in a row? I didn't realise that until I read it in the Irish Times during the week, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But we do not have the luxury of doing 2.5 millions every cycle, and probably more, and God knows how many free man hours that we're throw on top of that. We don't have the luxury of having 4 goes to then get a 5th. That won't happen.
Yeah.
And you won't have that support from 2 governments and everything. We've
and
got
to.
We needed to land this, and then we didn't, and we might get another go. But is it in 4 years? And I don't think so right now. But you'll reevaluate after the decision on November 15th.
Yeah,
I think it's a good thing, and often with these situations, the result triggers a whole series of finger pointing and the blame game, and there just doesn't seem to be any of that here. That people understand that we actually did put our best foot forward, put together an incredibly good proposition, and we fall down on things that we didn't ultimately have an awful lot of control over. And I haven't heard anybody looking for somebody to pin this on, which is a very good thing.
I had a front row seat in all of this, and it was done brilliantly. It really was. And it's something, if we don't manage to overturn this huge, deficit as it looks at the moment, we'll be able to look back, and it possibly wouldn't hurt as much as if we had really let ourselves down in areas that we could have, we could have improved or impressed upon way more.
The extra cash that the other 2 countries offered in the last couple of days, that does hold an important,
more money or less money.
Yeah.
Ask World Rugby. So
it's your job to make money for the game. What are you going to do? Yeah.
And it's 90% of your the 4-year cycle is dependent on the World Cup. And their spend for grassroots and all different initiatives, so
yeah,
they can't get it wrong.